I taught my bird to whistle like a referee. I can make a free throw when I'm down on one knee. I've been a fan of basketball since I was 5. Now I am a fan of HoopSpeak Live. Hilarious analysis, a mystifying trope. An angel with a cudgel breaking bubbles of soap. Like honeybees buzzing around a hive. Yeah, everybody buzzing about HoopSpeak Live.
Hey, welcome to HoopSpeak Live. I'm Beckley Mason. With me today, Ethan Sherwood Strauss. We have no Harper, but we do have our guest today, Mike Prada from SB Nation. It's going to be awesome. Ethan and I just got back from the Sloan conference in Boston, where there was much shenanigans and fun to be had amongst a bunch of nerdy bloggers. It's great to see you there, Ethan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm still basking in the glow of Devin and Haberstro and me just taking you out, taking you down. That was glorious, I must say.
Yeah, you guys have dealt me one of 2 defeats in 6 days of basketball at Sloan. Ethan, in particular, I will say, killed our team. Haberstro hit 1 3 in my face and then banked one in when I was basically chest to chest with him. So what I'm saying is there's a little bit of variance here. We didn't have the right scouting report on Ethan. He was taking it to the rack. He's killing us.
Well, it's one of those things where you've been very successful. You are, just so the audience knows, even though they probably do, you are better at basketball than I am. So that's why it's more of an event when we beat you. It's like if we had a bunch of, if we were a college team, the students would have stormed the court afterwards, and had it been the other way around, not so much. But you talk about those shenanigans. Maybe you were out a little late the night before. I don't know what was up, but that just wasn't peak Beckley Mason on Sunday as I know him.
Well, I'll tell you that Tom Haberstroh had every right to be just as let's just call this a flu-like symptoms game for me. It's like this doesn't usually happen in Boston, but it's like when an NBA team goes to Miami or New York and then has the afternoon game the next day,
Oh yeah.
and like they can't get up and down the court. I was hurting, but worked or White Vegas as Toronto is known. Of course.
We're down to
One of
Mason.
the
We're down to Mason.
yeah, I jumped. I think I'm
There we
back
go.
here.
There we go. You back?
You see- Okay, cool. So obviously one of the big names from Sloan is Daryl Morey, and I've been trying to track him down for this feature on the Rockets that I'm writing, and I really want to get a couple quotes from him because he's very good in front of the mic. So I'm supposed to speak to him today. Still hasn't called me, but he did Facebook friend me, which is like a very weird, uh, you know 2013 moment, right? As an NBA GM who you're trying to get in touch with, Facebook friends you. So I get all excited. I'm like, hell yes, this is great. And I click, to go over and accept his friendship and put it on limited profile so he can't see any pictures of me. And who do I see but Zach Harper, who is big timing us today to do CBS radio, is already friends with him. So I felt a lot less special. I think this is just
I think
kind of
this
his
is one
thing.
this is one of your more elaborate humble brags. I mean, this is a humble brag with some depth and some character. Some real planning went into this humble brag, where you want to reveal this fact about yourself, but you're couching it in the pseudo shame of Harper getting there first. I don't even know why we should. I mean, can we just analyze why that's a problem? Why you would care about such a thing? Because it seems fairly disingenuous to me that you would even care. It just seems as though you want to tell us about your budding friendship with Mr. Daryl Morey.
Yeah. Daryl Morey has no idea who I am, but he, except for that, I keep leaving emails for him that he doesn't return. But the Harper thing is that Zach's Facebook picture is like a very I don't know. There's something about it. It's like he's just having a good time. It's like not trying to look too professional. I think his wife girlfriend is in it, and just to see the ease and accomplishment with which he already had when you get
Mm-hmm.
there, bummed me out. But let's get off of this particular topic and talk about something that actually was at Sloan, which was Kirk Goldsberry's Golden Gate um, presentation on David Lee's terrible defense. What was interesting about it was Goldsberry gave a great presentation, and I think that as much as David Lee's actual defense is what stuck in people's minds. Luis Scola worse than Lee on almost every one of those, but not getting a next to max contract. What did you think of
Well,
that?
I was in the building, and there were some dynamics that made it the kind of situation that it was. The summer jam situation, as Jared Wade put it, of putting David Lee in a leotard on the screen. Um, and it's this. At Sloan, a lot of people are playing coy. A lot of people aren't giving you all of the information because they want an NBA team to buy their product. And the danger in giving up a lot of information is that somebody else can steal that information, or that you'll offend some of the team people who are there to see it. In this case, in the building, I could see Golden State Warriors employees. They were in the room for this Goldsberry presentation that made fun of David Lee. And what ended up happening was, I believe that the crowd was shocked in the laughter because Goldsberry was so blunt. He was also charismatic. I mean, a charismatic speaker at Sloan, no offense to Sloan, is a little bit rare. And he had the room. He had the room, and he was blunt. The blooper music came on, and just the room was shaking with laughter. It was like being at a stand-up comedy show, and I suppose it rubs some people the wrong way. Some people believe that's not the best etiquette with David Lee not there. Frankly, I mean, this might sound reductive or callous from a non-athlete, but it's just play better defense, dude. I mean, that was his defense.
Yeah, I think there is something though, and some people touched on it in a different way. But there's something to the backlash against stat focused writing in that it reduces very human qualities to numbers that are very manageable for people who don't have any access to the actual people or to a lot of the decisions they're making. And has nothing to do with the Kirk's presentation, just generally on the theme of how you criticize players. I think that using data to say, okay, he is not playing good defense is one thing. Using it to ridicule someone, which is a lot of times what happens, I think is what puts people off because so much of the NBA is about personal relationships and about getting people on the same page or who doesn't like who, and that's why this team didn't go after this player. He's got a reputation for being a weird guy, even though he makes corner threes. And that kind of duality of NBA analysis is hard to convey, especially on stage in numbers. And I think that's part of why people get turned off sometimes when they see a pure data analysis, even though that's so valuable to have that.
Yeah, I'm just picturing a dystopian future where it's going to look like the Stanley Milgram experiment at Sloan, and we're going to be zapping David Lee from the comfort of the Boston Convention Hall. There's a racial component that was brought up on Warriors World. I think Jesse Taylor, and I disagree with his premise. I want to put that out there, but I want to know what you might think about it, which is that the people in the room who were mostly white were more comfortable laughing at David Lee because he was white and there was less guilt to it. I don't see it that way. I'm sorry for lobbing a racial hand grenade in your direction, Beckley, without a lot of warning. Oh, I don't know what to do with it. But that was an odd theory. I wouldn't have thought that. I could see why somebody would think that. I believe that it was mostly that people were shocked in the laughter by the bluntness, and also that David Lee's defense is inherently funny. I would even go the other way. If I had to guess, I would say that that has maybe helped David Lee evade some criticism, perhaps. I don't know. That's just a guess on my part. But I'd like to know what you think.
Well, David Lee can handle himself in the
Yeah.
media. Obviously, he's great in front of the camera. He gives good quotes. He's very articulate about whatever someone asks him about, and very polite. So he in a way is like feels like he's safe to go after in a way that perhaps a player who doesn't come off that way might not be, regardless of race. Like maybe it's just Luis Scola like can't or someone doesn't speak English very well. It's like weird to just like have a room full of people
Yeah.
laughing at him. But I do think that David Lee's brand of being, this isn't the first time someone's made fun of David Lee. His nickname was FEMA because he was never around when you needed him, right? That was, that's like come out. And so I think this is kind of fits in with that brand also, which makes it a really good target for comedy, is that kind of everyone's on the same page. Part of why things are funny is because we all have to agree on, things being funny. So that's already out there as a funny thing. So it's a good target for Kirk to, be able to relate to everyone in the room. All right, we've talked enough Sloan. I want to now bring on someone who wasn't at Sloan because he was watching the surprisingly entertaining Wizards, Mike Prada from SB Nation.
What's up? And I wasn't watching the Wizards. I was celebrating my girlfriend's birthday, which is not really.
Oh,
I know it's like kind of weird to do that if you're an NBA blogger. You've got to be in front of the TV all the time. But I did watch the Wizards on delay. So not only, instead of watching the Wizards live, I actually chose to take portions of my day out to watch the Wizards not live. So I think that's worse, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's not as bad of a thing as it used to be now, or bad of an experience as it was when I was living in DC, and I would see you at the Wizards games, gamely trolling for anything in the locker room that could, make writing about them worthwhile. And by trolling, I mean not a troll under the bridge, obviously.
You're not that far off.
I want to talk about Wall. I want to talk about, he seems to be someone who's very hard to place within the NBA. It seems like we don't want to say that he's bad because he's been banged up and or maybe not bad, but underachieving because he's been banged up and he still has all this talent. We've also he can't shoot really well and he's got these problems. So we don't want to say, okay, he's still going to be, one of the great point guards in the NBA. What do you think of this?
God, this is so hard. What makes him really tough to figure out is like how good is he? Like you said, how good is he really going to be? And how many point guards have followed this development track and then become as good as we hope they would be? And more importantly, does it matter if he's as good as we want him to be? If he's not as good as we want him to be? Like, I think the Wizards have changed the way they've built their team to the point where it's like they've got more cover if John Wall doesn't turn out to be who they want to be, which is honestly is what I think they should have been doing all along. But they haven't. I think they put a lot of eggs in his basket in the first 2 years. And I don't know, I wasn't at Sloan, but Stan Van Gundy talked about this, about how the wrong way to develop a player is to throw a bunch of young guys out there and see what sticks, because they don't develop in combination with each other and they actually make each other worse. That happened with the Wizards, and that I think still affects John Wall. But then does that excuse the poor jump shooting? And frankly, the bigger problem I see with him, or maybe not the bigger problem, but the problem that's less discussed, is that his ball handling really isn't that good. I mean, if you watch how low he dribbles compared to Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, guys like that, I mean, they dribble the ball much lower than John Wall does, and that causes a lot of turnovers. So, it's unfortunately we have a wait and see situation with this. The other thing to keep in mind is that he's only played the equivalent of 1.5 full seasons at this point, because he obviously had the lockout and then he missed half of this year. And 1.5 seasons isn't a ton of time to figure out what a player can be when the rest of the team around you is so unstable. And that's not really much of an answer, but what it's a good point. Like, how do you qualify how good he is when there's been so much trouble around him and when he really hasn't gotten that much better since his rookie year?
Mike, do you know anything about how hard they've worked to develop John Wall's jumper? I mean, or perhaps even dribbling as well, because it's just so odd to me that in some of these seasons where they were going nowhere, or at least in one of them, he barely shot any three-pointers, and there was really nothing to lose from developing that shot. So I guess I just want to know, has this been a focus of the team to fix that?
I don't think so. I think he worked with Dave Hoppel this summer. I know that. Dave Hoppel, obviously, great shooting guru. He's worked with a lot of Wizards in the past. He worked a lot with John Wall this summer. I think the Wizards have taken this approach that let's start small. Let's start with mastering the pull-up jumper off the pick and roll first, and that's what he always works on. So I don't think it's really a lack of effort. Like they work hard with him on that. I actually don't think you should learn how to shoot threes yet. I know threes are like the better efficient shot, but anybody who knows this, when you work on improving a jumper, you start in and then move out. You don't start out and then move in. It's better for your form. But I think it must be a mechanical thing at this point because I think he's putting in the work. Maybe he needs to put in more of the work, but I think it's a mechanical thing with how he jumps, where he puts the ball in his guide hand, and
Definitely like
blame whoever. I don't know. He's got that weird looking like thing where his guide hand is like on top of the ball. He also like sometimes shoots a set shot, sometimes doesn't, sometimes holds his follow through, sometimes doesn't. You would think that someone's pointed these things out to him. So I don't know. I think honestly, the development of a jump shot is more on the player than on the team. What's on the team is like putting other shooters around him so that his lack of jump shooting is not exposed as much. That's I think something that would be on the team. But for a jump shot, I think it's on the player, and I don't know if he's worked hard, so it must be some sort of mechanical issue.
this is a
Yeah, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
no, no, no. I had a digression. I want to stay on the John Wall topic. If you have a question, I cede the floor to
Excellent.
Beckley.
All right. Well, this is a John Wall question. Since he came back, their defense really looked great. That also coincided with Okafor and Nene playing more and better. Describe the dynamic of those two bigs defensively and what that's done for the Wizards.
I'm surprised they've been as good as they have, honestly. I know Rob Mahoney wrote about it. The brilliance of Nene, I think, is that he can switch out onto smaller players. He can kind of cover more guys on the perimeter, and he had kind of been fighting, I think, in Denver, like, and he wanted to be more of a guy who played on the floor. I think he was kind of tired of playing center, and the Wizards offered him that opportunity. Okafor, sometimes his pick and roll coverage can struggle, but generally speaking, he's a really good rim protector, and Nene is not nearly as much of a rim protector. He can move his feet better than most bigs. He can kind of body them up physically better than most bigs. And because of those two diverse skills, they've managed to find a way to make it work. The other thing I'd say though is I think one of the big keys to their defense, I think, has actually been Trevor Ariza. And a lot of people don't like Trevor Ariza. I don't like Trevor Ariza, but he's really good at kind of anticipating passing lanes and kind of using his length in smart ways as a help side defender. And I think that's helped make those two bigs work. And Ariza's now playing off the bench, so he plays a lot more freely. And he's really helped him too. And he came back around the same time John Wall did from his injury. So, and the other thing is they were good defensively even before John Wall came back. They weren't elite like this, but they were still very good. So there's a lot of foundation to build on there that I think they've used well. But it's interesting. This is one area where I did not think the Wizards would prosper having those two bigs, and they've proven me wrong so far.
I'm wondering, Mike, are the Wizards the best bad team? There's some competition between maybe the Hornets. Perhaps you could throw the Raptors out there. Maybe even the Pistons.
I'd say Toronto.
You'd say Toronto. Toronto's the best bad team. I don't know. I'm going with the Wizards.
I would certainly watch the Wizards.
Really? I guess Toronto's pretty annoying to watch too. I'm not sure the Wizards are that entertaining. Do you want to see a team that's like still terrible on offense and really stifling on defense, and they're only exciting when they're out on the open floor? Okay, actually, that sounds pretty cool. Never mind.
Yeah, look at the competition. I might want to rather watch the Hornets because of Anthony Davis, but he doesn't play enough. So if I'm doing some sort of weird composite of watchability with quality of team, no. See, you can't. Wayne Washington's wrong. Once you get to that 500 threshold, you can't even be in the consideration, especially since the Lakers are going to, if they're a coin flip to make the playoffs, they're out of the running for best bad team. You can't consider them.
Well, are you saying best bad team or most entertaining bad team?
Let's go with best bad team. Let's go with best. That's easier.
Because I don't think the Lakers are entertaining, really.
Mm-hmm.
they may be the best bad team. Let me think about this. I think Toronto's better because their defense over the last, I think, 10 years has been just as good, and they still have. Yeah, actually, no, I don't know. So Toronto's, I guess, the best competition. I'm sorry, I'm unprepared. I don't think about these questions very much.
You don't think about these crazy
I haven't watched.
hypotheticals.
I haven't watched New Orleans much recently. Are they like actually entertaining or fun? Like I know they were for a while, but have they been recently? I mean, someone mentioned Dallas. Dallas is an entertaining bad team. I don't know about
Hmm.
best though.
Really fast. I want to talk about our guy, or not our guy, your guy, Bradley Beal, who started a little slow, has become a very easy guy to root for. He has a really pleasing game. He plays hard. He seems to play above his age. You know, he's still very, very young. What have you seen in Beal? Who's of course a little banged up now, and what do you think about the Beal Wall dynamic?
So I think theoretically they should work really well because you have the guy who's a really good passer, and Wall's court vision is still great. He just makes some struggles with decision making, and then you have the guy who's a really good shooter and complementary player. It should work really well. What I will say is I think that a lot of people are attributing Beal's improvement to Wall unnecessarily. I think it's unfair to Brad, where the reason I think he's played a lot better is that he's learned how to read side pick and roll and off screen situations, where in the first 2 months of the year, he'd come up, they would trap him because they didn't want him to shoot, and he would not know what the next read is, and he would not execute it fast enough, and so he'd have to kind of just pull it back out and reset the play. And sometime in early January, before Wall came back, it kind of, the switch flipped, and suddenly he knew that, hey, this pocket pass is open to me, and I have to make it right away. Or this guy fading to the rim when I come off a curl, this guy rolling to the rim is open. I've got to make that right away. He's kind of figured that out, and so if you look at the on-off numbers, like his production's about the same with Wall and with AJ Price, and I think that's why I would not attribute too much of his improvement to Wall. Now, Wall helps. He gives him corner threes. He gives him transition opportunities, which is the big way that Wall helps his team at this point is that he gets out on the open floor and makes it so you can't crash the offensive glass. But that's, I think, been the biggest thing with Brad is he's just kind of. It took him a couple months in Florida to figure things out where he fit, and now it's taking him a couple months with the Wizards to kind of figure out this is how teams defend pick and roll in this league. This is how teams defend when they come off a screen. The next step for him is can he go one-on-one with certain situations when needed. There's also a weird like kind of dynamic now among Wizards fans, where it's like Beal is playing well, Wall is struggling. So is Beal the quote-unquote franchise player? And like I find that I hate those discussions, but that's happening a lot in Wizards fandom right now. Like where it's like, who's the best guy on the team? Who's our guy? As if you have to pick one or the other. So that's interesting too. I mean, you're right though. His game is so fun to watch, if not always productive.
Yeah, there can be only one.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, Ethan. Please
I'm
continue.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No. That was a very important comment. Thank you
See,
for contributing.
here's the problem is that Beckley and I usually don't see each other for a while. Now that we got off the digital landscape and actually, hung out in person, and now the digital is all screwed up. So that's what's happened here. I mean, I'll hijack this to just ask you. I mean, I often think that the Warriors added a player not having Monte Ellis, even though he's been killing it recently. Not having JaVale. How many wins is that for the Wizards? How valuable is not having JaVale as a player?
A few, no question. And other than that, I don't want to say much more because I'm going to get killed by all the people who love JaVale. Let's just say a few.
All right. Well, the point I was going to make there about Wall and Beal is that it's okay if neither of them is like a franchise guy, right?
Yes, thank you.
Not that everybody is trying to be the Hawks. But like, the Hawks were very good and continue to be very good without someone. I think everyone's like, okay, there's your number one championship team. If the Wizards were the Hawks for the next 6 years, I think Washington fans would be pretty thrilled.
Yeah, I think this discussion is really dumb for two reasons. One, they're on the most fundamentally they're on the same team, so like it's not like they're competing with each other. So like if one is good and one is not, and the team is good, or if both are good, or like they're on the same team, so who cares? Number two, their contract. Brad's on a rookie contract, so it's not like you have to pay one or the other. When by the time he has to be extended and Nay's contract is up, by the time Wall has to be extended, whether his extension kicks in this summer or next summer, and Okafor and Ariza's contracts are up. So there's no like cap implications. This isn't like James Harden where it's like his money takes the Thunder to this number over the tax, and now they can't pay someone else. Like, so the discussion is just weird to me. Like, I think the disappointment is that Wall has not been the guy to save the franchise, where he comes in and the Wizards immediately dub him the game changer, and he hasn't been a game changer. But I'm with you. I don't really see it. And it's not like they still have like plenty of luxury tax breathing room if they wanted to trade for, someone else. I don't know who that would be. But like, just in theory, like think about like if the Heat decide they don't want to pay more luxury tax bills and they want to kind of get a couple guys for Bosch and they want to trade for him. The Wizards were in on Josh Smith. They were in on Rudy Gay. Like theoretically, they could be in on Bosch too, and they could not go over the luxury tax. So I don't get why it's like one or the other. There's no reason for it to be. It's just how fans work. Like we always want to compare one to the other, and see which guy is like our guy and our franchise guy. It's just this in Golden State. They did this with Allison Curry, but there I guess it made a little more sense.
Stupid people are on the one side of that argument.
I'm really bad today.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for sneaking away to talk to us, and we will continue to read you on SB Nation and follow you on Twitter, Mike Prada _ SBN. I believe that's
Thanks. Sorry for being in a kitchen. Someone's using our conference room, and our office is smaller than you would think.
Ethan has no excuse. Don't worry about it.
Are you at least going to close the doors in your closet so like makes it more elegant? Are you going to leave them open?
It's a metaphor. I just don't know for what, but it's a metaphor.
For what? So you're saying you're keeping an open mind about things.
Yes.
So there you go. Okay. Anytime you need like a metaphor, I'm happy to help you out.
Thanks, dude. I'll hit you up for it.
Oh. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Take it easy. All right. We're going to do a segment next that I've been talking about for a while on offline. Something I've observed, and I'm curious what our viewers in the comments will think about this. So add your submissions as we go. We're going to talk about players that other players seem to hate. And this is started by the Berea-Ray Allen encounter last night. What did you make of that, Ethan? I know you.
I do have thoughts on that. Well, the thing with Berea is he's been getting away with stuff for years because he's tiny, and it's frankly annoying. So, well, in the vacuum, I don't believe that should have been a flagrant 2. That was a little excessive. Certainly a flagrant 1. He clearly was mad that Ray Allen kind of gave him a bit of a shiver off the dribble, and he ran up and he shoved him down, and Ray Allen landed on his ass, and he did that intentionally. He sprinted up to a guy and he shoved him down. It's not shocking to me that would be ejectable or an ejection, even if I would prefer that players not be ejected, even if I would say, yeah, if it were up to me, flagrant 1. It's just that we shouldn't adjust how we feel about it so much due to the size of the player. If you're out there breaking the rules and you're short, you're still breaking the rules, and he's been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, Berea, I like Wayne Washington is saying that Berea kind of has to play that way to survive in the league, and I tend to believe, not that one. I tend to agree with that. He does he does flop, he does push off, he does put his chest under someone. If they touch him, he flies back. That one, seemed like, an obvious, like he got angry at Ray Allen, ran at him and checked him. I mean, Berea is strong. Like, he is really strong. I don't buy the argument that he couldn't have knocked over Ray Allen. We see that all the time with little running backs who crush linebackers who are coming in the backfield to catch someone by the side when they're not looking. Like, you can knock someone over. I want to get to our other guys on the list, though.
I just
Ethan,
want
do
to
you want to
say,
jump in?
perform an experiment. Say if you see a 6'5" guy on the street and he's got his headphones on like I do right now, and he's listening to his iPod, and he's not really expecting it, and you're under 6 feet, sprint up to him and shove him and see if he doesn't fall down. This is madness. People go way too far with this idea that a smaller person can't knock a larger person over if they're. I mean, that's just Ray Allen wasn't expecting that. That's what happens.
Okay, so other guys on our list of players that other players seem to really not like. This one's my number one, Tyler Hansbrough. The way he plays, and here's a picture of Kim English, who seems like a pretty decent, like you're not too aggressive guy, clotheslining him. Every time Hansbrough gets the ball, he is going very hard and trying to draw as much contact as possible, which if you're defending him, because he's very strong, would be extremely annoying because you're obviously just trying to run into me. You're not trying to go around me. That's why he gets a lot of fouls. He also fouls like crazy on the other end. I don't think that I think he's number one for me. I'm going to run.
Uh-oh.
I went frozen for a second, and now I think I'm back. Reggie Evans, known ball smacker. Lance Stevenson just seems to have a case of the crazies. I don't know, he seems to get into it with everybody, especially Dwayne Wade. I'm curious if you think Wade belongs on this list. Fairly beloved, popular player, but also has a reputation for ending people's seasons. And then of course Chris Humphries, who for whatever reason, Matt Barnes, definitely Curtis Harris, he is on this list. And then Chris Humphries, who we've talked about before, maybe because of the Kardashian thing and people resent him being with Kim, gets a little extra. Who do you like on that list?
Well, I want to take credit for suggesting Chris Humphries. I like that one. It's not a mystery as to why people have been lashing out at him on the court. He does a lot of subtle, cheap, dirty things that rile up the competition. Perhaps for bigger star power. I think Blake Griffin gets put on this list. I don't support it. If I'm going with a star, it's going to be Dwayne Wade, as you mentioned. The thing about Dwayne Wade is he's so well coordinated and athletic that he kind of gets away with it. You rarely see Wade caught when he does these things. And maybe I'm being a bit unfair, but I do believe that he intended to bring Rondo down in that elbow injury. I don't think I did at the time, but after the body of work that developed after that point and watching it again, I kind of think Wade meant to do it. Not perhaps hurt his elbow, but he does try some little shenanigans in there. So Wade deserves the rep. He deserves the rep, and it's an intriguing place that he is with his career, that he's become dirty foul guy from superstar.
Well, I think he's still superstar, right? He's now top 4 in PER, so it's very hard to figure out the list. If he cracked, because people still grew up idolizing him, who are now playing in the NBA, so it's hard to know if he is actually other players don't like him, or if he's just regarded as a little bit dirty. Whereas I think Reggie Evans, people see him on the calendar and they're like, well, this is going to be terrible. I'm going to have to deal with this guy all night.
Yeah, I would submit David Lee to that list, actually. He's been getting away with some sneaky goonery for the past year or two, and it finally caught up to him when he shoved Hibbert, and it turned into a near brawl, and he got suspended. And Joe Lacob was arguing it with Adam Silver. Adam Silver said that Joe Lacob had come up and was arguing the case of David Lee, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, he shoved Hibbert and it led to this thing that spilled into the stands. What do you expect? And Lee does stuff like that all the time. He gets angry. I think he tried to take out LeBron James. LeBron almost fought him, for instance, and it's been going under the radar. So I would add David Lee, Kirk Goldsberry's favorite player, to that goon list.
All right. Well, let's. I think we should go back and rename this pod Sneaky Goonery. I like that term. Thanks for hopping on, man. We're going to have to run now, but we'll be back on Thursday with the one and only Lee Jenkins from Sports Illustrated. So tune in on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thanks to everyone who watched, and thanks to Mike Prada. Take us out, Roger Bain.
my bird to whistle like a referee. I can make a free throw when I'm down on one knee. I've been a fan of basketball since I was 5. Now I am a fan of HoopSpeak Live. Hilarious analysis, a mystifying trope. An angel with a cudgel breaking bubbles of soap. Like honeybees buzzing around a hive. Everybody buzzing about HoopSpeak Live.